It is another Light News Radio. Self-empowerment for the whole human being. The place where sick and tired is no longer of oneself. Featuring your host, Dr. Richard Jelisich, and co-host Deirdre Layton. Together, they finish each other's sentences, laugh, and take you from feeling hopeless to overjoyed to rock your world. And now, here are your hosts, Dr. J and Deirdre.
Welcome back to the Light News Radio studios, where you will find the realms of self-empowerment. Light News Radio brings you spiritually conscious, awakened people who are walking their spiritual talk. I am Dr. J, your host, and my co-host, Queen of the Universe, Cosmic Social Director, and Princess of Spiritual Power is Deirdre Layton. We are coming to you live on iHeartRadio and Speaker Radio and Bold Radio stations. Together, we bring you grounded metaphysics where the spiritual rubber hits the road. Real-life teachings and applications that are grounded and relevant to you. Here you will find the safety way, as my teacher would put it, a place where you can breathe fresh air of grounded spirituality while avoiding the hype and the fascination. We are all about helping you to empower your life through understanding your true spiritual nature. So come aboard our beam of light and enlighten your load as we travel the waves of knowledge and wisdom for the next hour. How you doing, Deirdre?
I'm doing great. I'm sitting here listening to you introduce me and giggling, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Because every time it's different, but it's great. And, you know, I'm so excited because, listeners, you can pick us up on as Richard was saying, on iHeartRadio and Speaker Radio and Bold Radio. And we were having a little bit of a discussion before we came on air on how things have changed over the years. You know, in reaching people through radio and you know, going from live studios out there to our own personal live studios, and it's just amazing, you know. And I just been thinking about it a lot lately because, of course, my husband and I gave up cable TV some time ago. And we watch things that interest us now, either through YouTube or Netflix or whatever. But we've been catching what's been going on in the U.S. and we've been streaming your debates and whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
And just, I tell you, sometimes I just shake my head, you know, because I watch the rallies and stuff going on, and I really, I don't know.
Is that why you sent so much virtual beer to our producer in Serbia?
I think so. Yeah. Calm him down.
Like, buddy, we
Serbia,
feel for you.
Calm me down. But you know, the last time you were here in Canada, you did a trip to British Columbia to Salmonar and the Shuswap area to do some workshops and everything.
Right.
And I sent you a link this morning to let you know that if you had gone there this week, you probably would be taking a very long drive home.
Oh, yeah. Because of the rock slide. They had, a couple of guys were drilling into the side of the hill there, or the mountain, which they do by the side of the road to, you know, to bolster things and put in retaining walls. And 10,000 cubic meters of rock came down. These guys were hurt, but not badly. But, you know, Trans-Canada Highway is the only one that goes from east to west across Canada. So had I done that this time, I would have been waiting 2 days to come back.
Well, yeah, they're sending people, you know, around the mountain, down through and around, but it's an extra almost 2.5 hours worth of driving. So it's like, wow. I'm sure the truckers are not impressed and, you know, sitting there, because now they're saying another 72 hours. So the highway here from Field to Golden is closed. And Field is that area that you loved, you know, as you come out into that flat river area. So, yeah, it's amazing.
Listeners, I'm telling you, when I took that drive, you know who should be sitting in the passenger seat? A poet. A poet.
Oh, right.
Because every time of year is different. I've driven it 3 times. This time of year is the fall, so you've got the aspen trees painting a golden swath through the mountains and conifers on either side. You've got the snow up on top. You may come up to a rise where you're at a lake that's almost car level. It is just it's just amazing. I mean, you want to put your hand on your heart. It is so beautiful driving through that part of the world. It's just very difficult to describe. You guys just got to go and experience it for yourself.
Yeah, thank you, because I'm proud to be Canadian, and to think about the countryside in that way is it truly is. It's picturesque.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. It's something that you got to experience.
Yeah.
I guess it would be like being in Maine for the fall.
Fall colors, yeah. Which I've been in Connecticut many times for the fall colors. Same thing. No way you can take a picture and say, "Oh yeah, this is just so beautiful. Wish you were here." No, you guys got to go. You got to go.
Yeah. Well, and we've been enjoying it. Unfortunately, I think we had to put the motorcycle away this weekend because frost and whatnot now. So yeah, we might get snow on Friday. So we'll see what happens.
Well, you watch the temperatures. You get the 10-day forecast. Now you can get it on your phone or anything, and you can see the temperature edging down, and that's the reality of living in a place like Canada. It is north, it is colder, but it's, I've been going to Canada on a regular basis since 1999. And it never gets tiring. It's such a beautiful place to be. And, somehow our premise of our show is spirituality, and the spirit that led me there has given me a blessing of a lot of work to do, and it helped me to meet Deirdre, which I always call her a loving, happy soul because that's the way she came in. But we've just been kicking ass with all the spiritual work to go. And if somebody came up to Deirdre or to me and said, "Hey, do you guys have a lot on the go? Are you busy?" We would look at them like they were speaking a foreign language. Like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding? I mean, I had a meeting with my attorney this morning, and she's a very, very beautiful holistic attorney named Doherty Wesley, who's going to be on our show in the months to come, and very holistic attorney. And so she's helping us to get our feet on the ground legally so that we can do this the right way. But there's just, her eyes grow wide because with anticipation, she knows how much we're going to grow.
Well, and when you say legally, you just mean name-wise. It's interesting because the way that came out.
There's a lot of legalities to intellectual property and to protecting what you do. And like for me and Light News, the product, registered trademarks, stuff like that. Nothing. We have been doing nothing illegal.
Yes.
That we know of.
But it's our producer in the background. He does all that illegal stuff. But anyhow,
oh my God,
okay. in Serbia,
but
in the Karma Police. But no, it's right. We've got Light News Institute for our students, and we're looking at naming the program so that it fits all walks of life rather than just spiritual healers training, because there are some people that, even though it's not religiously related, they seem to dive in and say, well, I'm not too sure about this because I don't want to be attached to any form of dogma. And so we're just we're looking at names. So listeners out there, if one of you sends us a name and Richard loves it and we wind up using it, you get a free half-hour session with him. There you go, Richard. I just promoted you, and I made the executive decision to give away half an hour session.
We've had everything from chakra maha healing. Maha is actually a very sacred word, guys. To Dr. J's hoo-ha healing, to integrative chakra theory, and we're still looking for a great name and to kind of call what it is I do that's based on the chakra system. So everything I do is based on this understanding of how we emanate the quality and the nature of our beingness into this dimension. But to encapsulate that in a title, in other words, if I said Reiki, vortex healing, touch for health, reflexology, you guys instantly know what that is. But on the other hand, if I say integrative chakra theory, what do you think of? And yet it could be that we're living in an age where this is like the 1990s and someone started saying, I need to start talking about yoga therapy. And people say, well, nobody's ever heard of that. Well, yeah, but
yes.
at some point, you got to introduce the term and get people used to it. And I think the same thing is true with chakras. I think that's going to become a household term in the not too distant future. And it's something that we really need to start embracing. So if you guys have a great kick-ass name for the type of work that I've been teaching for 18 years now, you bet. Give us a ring. Let us know.
877-242-5721 is the phone number, or you can email me at info@lightnews.org.
Exactly.
And you know what? Throw it up on our Facebook page. We've got a Facebook page, Light News, and you can always go and put comments and whatnot on that as well. So, this is a year of challenges, a year of change, but it's a year of personal growth. And with that being said,
absolutely,
we've called the show Harmony in Healing today because our guest, I believe, can really bring that balance, harmony to healing to the world. And she has been working with instruments that her husband developed. I can't remember how many years ago now, but they're Light for Life tools. And
got to be in the 90s, because I have a couple of those tools that I have had from the 90s.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Yep.
So Katerina is our guest today, and I know she's in the background. Katerina, do you have anything you'd like to add to our intro?
Yes, actually, it's been 25 years ago. I celebrated 5 years of the first light leveling that was created by Slim Sperling.
Mm-hmm.
And
a lot of people don't know that name, but Slim Sperling has invented these devices that look like little coils of wire. And we're going to ask Katerina to kind of explain about what these are, because she has a general term called light life tools, light-life tools. But they're actually far more than that. Even though they look like little banded coils of wire with little steel balls, they're much more than that. And that's why, hey guys, in the 90s, I bought a couple of those things because of what they do to harmonize energy fields.
There's the dead elephant.
Yep. Go ahead, Katerina. This is your turn to talk a little bit about them.
I'm happy to do. I learned about the Light Life tools in 1996 when my brother Michael met Slim in Arizona, and he came back over here and visited with him and brought the tools back to Germany, Bavaria. That's where I am from. And so he didn't really say much, but when I took a coil, he said, be careful. And so, it was like whatever. And then I have been translating at seminars occasionally. It always felt like when Spirit wanted me to learn something, then they had me translate. So I learned about crystals, about spirit releasement therapy, about reincarnation. And then my brother invited Slim to come to Bavaria to teach a class. And so, of course, he asked me if I would do the translation. And Slim sent him a book. And that explains, at that time, he had 8 products. He had 3 rings, different sizes. He had a coil, a feedback loop, and 3 harmonizers. And a personal one, an environmental, and an agricultural. And when I started reading about the potential of those tools, what they have done so far, and I got so excited. I fell in love with the tools. I was like, I still get a tilt with, getting reports and just talking about it, and I loved them. And so for me, it was like, before I even met Slim, I said, hey, I want to help this man to get the tools out in the world. It's like, and when I met him in person, it was like, oh, nice to see you again. You know, it was not like sad, you know, it's like, oh my God, my charming Arma is finally here. It was just like, nice to see you again, you know. And
oh, wonderful.
It was great, you know, and I had some interesting experiences with, you know, translating for seminars, and so he knew I was a little nervous, and he was so amazing, you know, and all the questions people had, and at that time, that was in 97, you know, we didn't have so much research, or he didn't have so much research about the tools than we have now, and so, you know, if he would not know, he would just say so. He didn't pretend to have an answer or go into speculations or all this stuff, you know. He said, I don't know, you find out and let me know, you know. So I really liked the way he was speaking and the way he was honest and, you know, just telling people this is what they found so far and, you know, this is the potential we have. And so, yeah, so basically for people who don't know anything about SLIM or about the tools, slimspurling.com is a website. But just, you know, like what you said, Richard, they started out with a ring. And, you know, when you have a normal ring, any metal or any loop, you have inside a tensor field. But a normal, like if you take any ring, a wedding ring or any other ring, and you put a pendulum over it, on one side you will find a right spin, and on the other side you find a
right.
left
And
spin.
let me interrupt you there. The key word that Katerina said was tensor field, T-E-N-S-O-R, T-E-N-S-O-R. She said when you have a ring that's a loop like she's describing, that like Slim made, they make what are called tensor fields.
Yes.
Very cool. So that's like an energy, a magnetic energy field?
It's not a magnetic energy field, but, you know, what Slim came up with was, because if you take a wedding ring, you have a left spin on one side and a right spin on the other. But our ring, Slim, you know, realized that the left spin is not beneficial for our health, so he came up with twisting the wire, and when you solder them together very carefully, then you have a 0-point energy field, tensor field inside the ring. So you have
a toroidal energy field.
A toroidal energy field. So listeners, when you're listening to this, it's not easy to conceptualize when you're just only listening with your ears. But think of a coil, a circle, maybe 8 inches in diameter, and think of wire as a twisted pair going around in a spiral for this 8-inch diameter circle. And then there are many, many variations. You know, we'll get Katerina's website and all that information. But basically, these are tools that came to Slim Sperling, and Katerina is carrying on her work very, very successfully. You know that she already sold 2 tools just announcing that we were going to have this radio program today, and she's going to offer everybody a discount who's listening to this radio program. She's already sold 2 of these tools before we even went on air.
No. And just so our listeners are listening and understanding what you were just talking about, I decided to pull out my pendulum, and I took off my wedding rings and I put them down, and yeah, I watched the pendulum spin both counterclockwise and clockwise. That was amazing. I had no idea about that. Very cool.
Peter, make sure you put it back on, that the right spin is going towards your body.
Okay, I will.
It's going to do what?
When I put it back on, make sure that I put back on the right spin is going towards my body. Oh. I will do that. Okay. I had no idea.
Yeah. You know, and Slim was actually making way back when he did all kinds of stuff. You know, he made some finger rings, and he sold them at a craft store in Denver. And the guy said, you know, I don't know what it is about your stuff, but your stuff just flows off the shelves, and I can't. And other things look nicer, but people are drawn to your stuff. And he knew about that. And so he would make sure that when people put it on, that the right spin goes towards the body, and so, they had special parents. They was obviously say they want to put them on. And so, and he actually said that, he thinks a lot of people get divorced because they have the ring the wrong side on, and it gives them a lot of negative energy. So I don't know what it's about that, but anyway.
Wow, no, but that's really interesting because I do.
It's also
I do
alarming.
A lot of pendulum work. Well, no, but I do a lot of pendulum work, and I never thought of it that way. So that is really. I'm gonna play with that a little bit with some of my friends, I think, and see what we come up with.
Let me know what you find.
Yeah. How does this all work then with EMF, like with the electromagnetic fields?
Good question, Dee. Excellent.
Yeah, I love this question because, what happens when you put a ring up around something, like as I said, the ring has a 0-point energy field inside. So whatever you put in, like the electromagnetic field gets neutralized. Your things are still, but you are
the electromagnetic field gets neutralized because of the 0-point energy that is at the center of the ring. You're talking about a toroidal energy field, which you use the term tensor, and Deirdre and I are quite familiar with that term. Just bear in mind, and as I'm sure you know this already so well, most of our listeners have no clue what that means. But in terms of canceling out harmful electromagnetic radiation, most listeners know exactly what that means.
Exactly. And, I have a customer who has a website where she's selling our very simple plain copper rings for people to put over their smart meters. And she herself was suffering from the negative effects from the smart meters and EMF. And she said, I put your ring over it, and that was the end of my suffering. And so, she has been helping hundreds of people. And, there is much more to the EMF. I think people sometimes forget that we have our own electromagnetic field that can be distorted by having a lot of negativity, negative thoughts, negative environment, and then when our own electromagnetic field is out of whack, then we are suffering much more from the EMF that comes from our environment. So,
right.
It's interesting that you mention that because I grew up on a little tiny island, Salt Spring Island in British Columbia, and I grew up living almost directly underneath a hydropower electric lines.
Wow.
You're kidding.
And
you mean the ones on the great big steel towers, the ones that are like hundreds of feet high?
Yeah, we used to climb them as kids. Shh, nobody knows that, right?
So hang on, wait a minute. Let's be really ultra clear here. You talking about the lines that are made, the ones that have the great big steel girders, those that are real tall ones? Those are like 65,000 volts of electricity.
I grew up in a trailer.
That would explain a lot about you.
I knew that. All righty then. But it's interesting because my father, who put the roads and helped build all of that, he passed away of cancer. And I really believe that there was a lot of different things that brought that on. But I also, in doing research now as I've gotten older, feel that really could have played a major role in that whole thing because, he was constantly working around this. And I mean, we were living there. We were living underneath, more or less, living underneath these. And they were less than a quarter mile from the trailer.
Wow. And another gift that Slim left humanity was finding a very inexpensive and effective way to block Hartmann grid that comes from electricity or geopathic stress lines. And I was actually just doing a workshop last weekend where I was explaining to people the effects of that and how Slim's method works to remedy it. And we are doing another workshop in March where people actually get to go.
All right, so I gotta back you up for a second because most people don't know what a Hartmann line is. A Hartmann line is named after the person who actually discovered it, as they are foul energy lines in the earth. And there are old wood cuttings from Europe from hundreds of years ago that actually show you where to place your bed so that you can avoid placing your bed over one of these foul energy lines. So could you please go back over that just a little bit?
Yes, and this is another thing I got so excited about when I read Slim's workbook before he came, was that he actually found a way to block those lines so people didn't have to move the bed anymore or move out of the house because they couldn't live there. And so like in Europe, especially on farms, people live there for hundreds of years, and then over generations, the man dies of stomach cancer, or the woman of lung cancer, or whatever. And that is because when you are having your bed over a crossing of one of those harmful lines, then that can sooner or later be really detrimental to your health. And what Slim's method was to locate them. He used welding rods for dowsing, and then he would staple them in the ground perpendicular to the lane that was going into your property. And that's a whole...
Oh, wow.
That's a whole...
Sorry. That's amazing. Yeah. So he was stopping the energy dead, more or less.
Exactly. You had like a clear free zones for... At when you started, I think it was about 100, 200 feet, but now with so much more electricity in the environment, it might not go out so far anymore, but at least your house, and probably, depending how close the neighbors are, even a couple of neighbors are benefiting from you doing that, and then later the line continues. But at least for, maybe 50 feet now or 100, you have a protection.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question for you then.
Yes,
if this is, I know that it is, all of these different ley lines of positive and negative energy, how does that is a positive one?
Ley lines are positive, and we don't find that many on the planet, like where they used to build cathedrals in Europe. That's on a ley line, but the geopathic lines and the Hartmann grid, that and Curry lines and other stuff, this is what is harmful to our to our body and our
right.
Okay, so no, carry on.
Okay, no. I just wanted to make sure that this is clear. I interrupted you with your question. So
but that's good because I didn't know that there was that difference. But my train of thought was going towards how does this affect nature then? Like how does it affect the trees that are growing and the flora and the fauna of the area? If there is that negative energy, does that help bring it back into balance? Or will they be stunted in growth, or will nothing grow there? Like, how does that affect us on that nature side?
That's a really great question. And, sometimes if you go around, you see that all of a sudden every tree is not growing straight, even it would be growing straight according to the way it's, the type of the tree. Some trees are, that could be a sign that the tree is actually avoiding the geopathic stress that's coming its way, or you have a patch in your garden where nothing wants to grow. Like I had friends who had a beautiful garden and they had a cherry tree in the middle and it just didn't want to grow and it didn't want to give any cherries and they were ready to take it out, and then Slim was doing the dowsing there and blocked the negative line going through this tree, and the tree blossomed. And, depending on the soil, the rods deteriorate over time, and I think 3 years later, the rods must have deteriorated, and the tree actually died. But that's what you can see if you go out in nature, and you see trees that are crooked growing, or you see areas where nothing grows and everything around it is lush, or you see cracks in the concrete, or bees and ants and termites, they're really like geopathic stress lines. So if you have a hive of bees or ants in an area, then you count on this being a geopathic stress line or even a crossing. So
and nature just naturally avoids that because it's nature. It already grows in accordance with harmonic law.
Well, it's interesting because my husband and I, 15 years, almost 20 years ago now, bought the house that we're currently living in. And in the last 5 years, the gardens have produced less and less and less and less. And there is so much construction going on around our house. I felt that it was to do with these buildings coming down and buildings going up. But I also have had really interesting feelings that the energy has shifted. And now I'm thinking that, maybe with these buildings coming down and buildings going up, that can that shift the energy as well?
Totally. And that's so glad you say that because, you when you have a lot of construction going on, the lines can shift. And what happens is, like before, as you said, you lived in a nice area and the garden growing, and then through the construction work, it sounds like you have negative lines now going into your garden and protect from having it being as lush as it used to be. So we do have a DVD. I'm going to send that to you when you send me your mailing address, where Slim shows you exactly how to do it. And so you just have to go to a welding store and a hardware store and get some welding rods, and then you can do the dowsing yourself, especially
do
when
it yourself.
You work with,
I will.
Mm-hmm.
I will send you my address. Yes.
Just remember not to do it around full moon because full moon expands everything and it also expands the negative lines. And then for a beginner, it's really hard to find the lines. So, and you save yourself a lot of work by not having to do it twice.
Right.
And so I would definitely, make sure you do that. And, like we had a friend of mine, she was telling me about a girl that always had a lot of seizures at home, and every seizure was killing more brain cells. And she said, when the mom and her are traveling, she doesn't seem to have so many seizures. So I said, that really sounds like geopathic stress. And because she couldn't do the dowsing, so I gave her one of our environmental harmonizer silver plated because I knew that from, feng shui practitioners in Germany that takes really good care of geopathic stress. And so she placed one in their house, and they never really liked to go in the house because the energy was so weird. And so they placed it in the house, and that put an end to the seizures that the girl had at home, or certain infant deaths can also be due to geopathic stress. Or when you see a baby in the crib, you put it in at night and it is on the corner of the bed in the morning, that is because it automatically avoids the geopathic stress that's coming through the bed.
Wow.
That's amazing.
So I'm gonna get you to.
Well, there's so much to this. This is like one of those shows, Dee, where we extend the guest over, one show, then another show, then another show, so that.
Well, I want to take just a moment right now because I know that you have a website and I know that you have a special offer for our listeners. So if we can take a moment and just go over that. I believe that your website is slimlifetechnology.com. Is that correct?
That's correct. And we also have slimsperling.com.
And slimsperling.com. And Sperling is spelled Spurling for our listeners. So the discount is 15% off their first order, and the code is Bold Radio, and bold should be spelled with a capital B. So listeners, this is what Katriana is offering you from this show today, and I think it's just amazing. I had the opportunity to meet you at the Subtle Energy Retreat and to read
earlier this year.
That's right, and to read the book that you had given Dr. Jelicic, and I just was like, when he said, "Oh, we're going to get her on the show," I was so excited.
Me too.
Oh, so you have lots of projects coming up. What are some of those projects that you have coming up?
Well, you know what we are doing now. Actually, before the book is called "In the Mind of a Master," and that book you can get from our website or from Amazon. And this book is really good if you have already Light Life tools, or if you don't know what to get, because it's a reference guide. So every product we had at the time of publishing,
we can hardly hear you. You must have walked away from your phone.
Verbatim, we transcribe most of his talks and workshops, and so you get what it's used for, and you also get testimonials as to how other people have been using it.
Your voice is dropping out, Katharina.
Everybody who wants to learn more about it. In the Mind of a Master. And that's
Mind of a Master? No, she can't.
After the last workshop that just
there we go.
Sunday night, one of the participants, she comes from a research background. She's a retired researcher, and so she is looking into how we can do more research with water, because the rings are...
Katrina? Katrina, we can hardly hear you. We can hardly hear you. There.
Yeah,
you need to be closer to your phone.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I pressed the wrong button. I apologize. Is it better now?
Yes, much better.
Okay. Yeah, so anyway, the retired researcher, she wants to see how she can get more research done. Slim was telling about, they did some research putting a ring over a glass of water, and the ring had the water emits ultraviolet light, and that has antibacterial, antiviral properties. So, and I think that might be a reason for when people are placing it on any area of their body where they have a lot of discomfort, it seems to help relieve. And so we are looking into doing more of that, and we are working on having our website updated so that it's more user-friendly and gives you more ideas on how to use the tools, and doing research on other areas, for your readers where tools have like the...
Yeah, and your website has quite a lot to it, from the online store, which has a zillion tools, to helping you choose the tools, personal health and wellness. I mean, it just goes on, listeners. So, please go to the website. You can sign up for a free download on 5 things you got to know. There's all kinds of things there. And I want to ask, do you, Katharina, do counseling? In other words, if someone lives in another state, let's say Washington State, and they have some property and they want your personal guidance, is that possible too?
Yeah, people can send me an email, and I can either, if I'm not able to help them for whatever reason, one of my friends and partners in teaching the dowsing class, Scott Anderson, he offered to help when it comes to how to do properties, and, depending on the time of the year, he might be even able to go to people and do the dowsing for them. So I'm really happy to help people wherever I can. That's what I'm here for.
That's amazing.
What we were hoping to hear.
So they can reach you. What is the best email for them to reach you at? Is that the KSK at ix-el-.com.
Yes.
Yeah. I was reading it and I saw an extra dash in there. It's .com. It's el.com. ix-el.com. Excel.com.
KSK at ix-el.com. Now, having said that, is that a Mayan thing, Ishel? Or is that something?
The name was given to me by Spirit. I was wondering what to name my company, and it was like we incorporated in March of 2003, because, it was a way to get it out in the world, and that name was given to me, and I had a choice of where to put the hyphen or not put one, and I wasn't so familiar with all those.
It can mean a couple of things. Ish is Mayan for the feminine. So AH, like would be male or masculine. Ish is female or feminine. And El can be more of a Hebrew word meaning angel. El, like Mikael, Raphael, Uriel, Gabriel. Those are all words for God in reference to. So, it's a very powerful name you chose.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I love it. And I like it when people answer my phone in the office with saying IXL, Oh,
IXL. Very good.
That's amazing. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the Ishel as well. I'm familiar with that too. And so I think it has a lot for everybody, so I really like it. Thank you.
Well, I just want to repeat one more time here, listeners, that if you're listening to this show now, or if you're listening to this show as a recording, you can do your first order, your get a discount of 15%, and you just need to use Bold Radio with a capital B. And I think that it's just an amazing. There's so much information. I have probably another hour's worth of questions that I could ask, but I know that we don't have a lot of time. What would be one thing that you would really, really like to share with our listeners with regards to, harmony and healing?
Well, the harmonizers are really created for bringing harmony and healing to the planet and to people. Slim was so concerned about the air pollution. Tampa was, in the 90s, one of the most polluted cities in the U.S. And so Slim created the environmental harmonizer. And on March 18, 1994, he actually had 10 people spread out from Colorado Springs.
I remember that. Would you believe I remember that?
Yes, I do. And I met people how slim was it, because we didn't know who caused that, but we knew it wasn't what the, radio wanted us to believe, or the politicians, and it was like, and so, but, what people have to understand, that all the Light Life tools are here to support your growth, your personal growth, and they don't work for you. You cannot get a harmonizer and say, oh, I'm staying the bitch I am, but the harmonizer brings harmony anyway, So it might help you to look at why are you a bitch and what do you need to change, and guide you softly through the process that your environment has more harmony. And, the side effects have been when air pollution got cleared or less, that crime rates dropped, suicidal rates dropped significantly. We got either more, some people where they needed rain, they got more rain with a special technique they're using, or others stopped the rain where floods were. And they are just amazing, and it seems like they have an innate intelligence. So they work with what the people and the environment is needing. And, I could just talk for hours.
Mm-hmm.
I just so grateful, for having that available, and for Slim's legacy, and be able to continue with it. And I just invite people to have an open mind and do whatever you can to make your life and your environment healthier and better.
Well, I think our listeners at least got a little bit of a balanced understanding of what these harmonizers are, that they're little devices that never wear out. There's no battery.
Yeah.
They're there. They last. They're an investment, and I would urge people to go to your website and contact you personally, and take advantage of this. And besides, you were so generous to offer a special related to this show. Go check out her website, and there's a lot to it. We really enjoy working with people like you, Katharina, because our premise on this program is people who walk their talk spiritually. And a lot of times subjects like harmonizers that work with realms beyond the physical realm is a very difficult thing to speak about, and to help people understand that this is real. This is not airy-fairy. This is not a belief system. This is something that is actually real and part and parcel of our entire environment.
And so easy to use. And as you say, Richard, it is a lifetime investment. You can pass it on to your children and grandchildren, and they are working unless you break them and cut them open. But it's a one-time, a lifetime investment. So I love them.
Amazing. Well, I will be sending you an email with my address as you had asked. And I look forward to watching for, maybe we can find a way to bring you up here, bring you up to Canada, come and do some workshops up here. I think that would be amazing.
I would love to do that. I love Canada, and it's been far too long that I've been there.
Well, there we go. Something to add to our list of things to do, Richard.
We had nothing else going on, Dee. Yeah.
You guys are amazing so much for having you. The work you are doing. I so appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show, Katharina. We very much appreciate you.
We do.
Thank you.
And so, listeners, you can find more information at lightlifetechnologies.com or at what was that? What was
SlimSperling.com.
SlimSperling.com?
SlimSperling.com.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you so much again for being on the show.
Thank you.
Okay. And what do we got going on, Deirdre?
Oh, craziness.
Coming up this weekend.
Well, this weekend, you're flying up here tomorrow, flying to Canada tomorrow.
Yep.
And this weekend, you're doing a mediumship class on Saturday. And this is not only in person, but anyone can Zoom in, because we're going to be offering it live via Zoom for those that can't make it. And I know we do have someone registered in San Diego who will be Zooming in.
Excellent.
And it starts at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. If you are interested in taking this course, please email me at info@lightnews.org so that I can get you the information. And then on Sunday, you are doing a public event, Doors to Higher Consciousness, and it's discourse and discussions with yourself.
Right.
And you know what just blows my mind is you are offering this for $30 for a full day to sit with you for lecture and discourse and discussions. And listeners, if you're in Calgary, you want to be able to try and be in on this, because I know that there's going to be some really cool questions asked, that there's some people that are going to come and try and put you on the spot.
Well, that'll be online on Zoom too, Dee.
Awesome. I forgot.
Anybody can join that.
From anywhere. So make sure that you send me an email at info@lightnews.org or call me at 877-242-5721. And as soon as my phone is charged, because I realized it was off the hook, I will be able to answer it. And you also, this is exciting, is that you are starting a new group November 12th and 13th for your training.
Right.
And I'm teaching in Canada, and you're teaching in the U.S., and we're Zooming it together, and it's going to be amazing. I just know it is. So there's that on November 12th and 13th, and again, go to our website, www.lightnews.org, where you can find out, exactly what else you might need to know about the course and where it's being facilitated and how. And then I have November 10th and 16th. You are doing flower readings at the Tara Healing Center in San Diego, and that's in that Hillcrest area.
That's right.
And then you're also going to be in San Jose for November 5th and 6th. I tell you, see, you're all over the place. And you're going to be teaching that class, levels 10 and 11. And anyone who is interested in experiencing the energy and what Dr. Jelicich's students are learning can come out to the Universal Church of the Master headquarters, because we're using that office space for the class, and you can get on the table and have a free energy balancing that afternoon on Saturday or Sunday, the 5th or 6th, between 2 and 4 p.m. But I'm also excited that we have booked our retreat, the Sacred Heart Meditation Retreat. We have booked it for next year. The dates are in the calendar. It will be
Sedona.
Yes, it will be September 21st through 25th, 2017, with new sites, longer time in taking a look and doing reflections, and some other neat things that Richard has planned. So it's going to be a very, very cool trip. I believe there's like 12 people of the 22 that were here last year that are going to be back again. So that's amazing. And, of course, you have your Costa Rica trip.
April next year.
2017. Yeah, with Lisa Steeles and Cecile.
That's Kundalini Yoga and the chakras.
Yes, at the Blue Spirit Retreat.
Right. It's in a nature preserve, a turtle preserve, and it's one of the top 5 yoga destinations on the planet. And we got it booked, and we're doing it.
You're doing it. Yes, and there's some really good rates right now on the website. A Balanced Practice, spelled with an S. Practice is spelled with an S. So abalancedpractice.com, or just Google Lisa Steeles and A Balanced Practice, and she'll pop right up because she's there. And take a look at the site, or I think we've got information on our site, and if I don't, it will be up very soon.
Very soon. Yeah, if I know you, it'll be up soon.
I am working on that right now. And then, of course, we have our regular Monday and Thursday practices in San Diego or in Canada every second and fourth Monday, except for holidays. The holiday Mondays, you can come out to Family Matters in Northeast Calgary between 7 and 9:30, 10 o'clock p.m. and have some free energy work. Or the first and third Thursday at the Tara Healing Center in Hillcrest, San Diego. So again, we are here for you, listeners. And if you have questions or concerns or just want to chat with Dr. Jelicich, send me an email at info@lightnews.org or call me at 877-242-5721. And I can set up an appointment or whatever you want to do, a workshop, a special event. I can set that all up. Yeah.
And she can too. Very busy, very busy. There's one other thing too. Next June in 2017, we're putting on a conference in Calgary called
I don't have it in my notes.
It's called Awakening to Plant Consciousness. Awakening to Plant Consciousness. It's a multi-theme event running 3 days in June of 2017, where we will have speakers and presenters from the U.S. and Canada running all 3 days. So if you really want to get into the spirituality and the understanding of the plants and the consciousness related to plants, this is the venue for you.
And it's not just the plants, it's the planet consciousness as well, because, we have some of our speakers that are coming have some amazing tools and ideas that it's going to be huge. I'm looking forward to it. And of course, we have the venue already booked, and I'm just working on some invitational letters and want to get those out in the next week.
Yeah, and listeners, Deirdre has been complaining to me lately. She doesn't have enough to do. So, if you can think of some things that would fill her day, you're welcome to get a hold of her. That's after my untimely death. We really do. Listeners, you really should understand that there's a lot of work that goes in behind the scenes. You hear Deirdre and I talking about these events, but somebody has to sit down and plan them and create budgets and do all of the work behind the scenes. One of the reasons why Sedona worked so well is because Deirdre worked tirelessly behind the scenes for all those little things you never see but have to be in place for you to have a great journey. So, I want you to know, listeners, that Deirdre is one of those forces in the universe that's very powerful and gets all these things working. We're very fortunate that she is who she is, and I don't patronize. I just mean that sincerely. So, we are continuing. Light News Institute is a real thing. We are now teaching teachers. We are now doing more and broader and greater, and it's because Deirdre and I are responding to a spiritual need in the community that is calling forth all of these teaching and these things to do. And so if Deirdre jokes like, oh my God, we got so much on the go, it's also because it's a joyful work. And I think I can speak for Deirdre that's something we really want to do.
Yes.
We really want to do it.
We do. And the fun thing about it is that we get to invite really cool people onto our radio show. Like, of course, next week will be you and I, and we will, again, take a look at the chakras. I think
we're not on next week, I don't think, Dee.
Oh, is this the 5th?
Well, maybe it is.
November 2nd.
Actually, you're right. Yes, you're so right, Dee. Oh, okay.
Brain fart. Okay.
Yeah, November 2nd, Dr. J and Deirdre. It's our half-hour show next week.
Our half-hour show, and we're going to be talking about the chakras again, and how they relate to why we are here. And then November 9th, we have Doctor of Chiropractic Medicine, Alan Bloom, who's going to talk about I can never get this word.
Kinesiology.
Yes, muscle testing and how it helps people heal. So it's pretty cool. We've got some really great shows coming up, including Vima Lamura and
what did you say?
Vima Lamura.
Like I thought you were making an incantation there for a moment.
No, well, that's who's going to be on our show on December 14th. And Gaetan.
Gaetan?
Yeah, he's going to be on our show on January 11th. So, we've got all kinds of cool people coming and all kinds of really cool stuff coming your way. And with the last 2 minutes, of our radio show, I think that you should take a moment and just say, hey, what has gone on in your week, including your mother's 99th birthday party?
Oh my gosh, it was so magical. My mom is one of those people that was raised on a dairy farm, fresh air, hard work, natural food, and she's just one of these amazing people. She had her 99th birthday, and what does she like to have on her birthday? A Cadillac margarita, which is a margarita with a shot of Grand Marnier in it, all 97 pounds of her, and she plays bridge 4 or 5 times a week. Just one of these amazing people that and here I am, her son. I'm just so honored. because my sister and I are caretakers for our mother. We live in the same house where we were raised so that we can look after our mother because we don't believe in putting her in a home or any of that. So, Spirit always gives us these lessons and these opportunities to give back to the things that were given to us. And so, to be able to honor my dear mother in this way is just such a blessing. Although, I'm human like you are, Deirdre. I know you can understand. We all have our moments with our mothers. We all do, no matter how good of a mother we are or you are, right? But at the same time, it's an opportunity to be in that blessing of giving back to someone, giving them their dignity, lots and lots of love and support, and letting them know how loved they are for all the things that they've done for us. We all have that opportunity. So I know our time is running out. One more time, listeners, I want you to give a shout out to Dee and appreciate all the hard work she does behind the scenes. She does that kind of altruistic love that doesn't look for a reward, but at the same time does that work. It's very heart-centered. And so, as you know, listeners, we appreciate you so much because you are the power that we want to reach and help you reach your potential. And so please remember, always, may the principles of harmlessness and compassion be the ever-present, ever-constant guide of your every intention, your every thought, and your every action. And so it is, and so it shall be. It is done. Stay attuned, everyone.
Thank you for joining Light News Radio, where you are self-empowered for your whole being. Connect with us at www.lightnews.org.